Okay, good evening and welcome to Just Daf It. Yevamos here. We're learning Maseches Yevamos, Daf Ayin Hey 75. Um, we left off left off 2 minutes ago, a minute ago, less than a minute ago, talking about ending off Ayin Dalit. So now we were talking about this distinction between Meiser, Truma, and Kodshim, this hierarchy that once you go to the mikveh, you let eat Meiser Sheni. Once you then after they went to the mikvah and says Chavim come, nightfall comes, then you can eat truma. The next day when you bring your korban, you can start eating kodshim. That was rules that the Gemara established on Ayin Daled on my base. So now the Gemara says towards the bottom, Ayin Daled on the base, 6 lines from the bottom, Maskar of Shisha Bered Ravidi, Umimas Amas Truma Ksiva Hacha. How can you see that truma is written here when we're talking about psukim of becoming Torah, Vatani, Daber al Bnei Yisrael. Pasuk says by Yoledes, right? We had two psukim by Yoledes. One pasuk tells me that after the days are over, she can eat truma, meaning after Seizik Chavim. Next pasuk says that after bring the korban, then she can eat kodshim. How could you say we're talking even about truma by the Yoledes? Vatani, Daber al Bnei Yisrael. Speak to the people of Bnei Yisrael. The Ainli ala Bnei Yisrael. I'm only talking about Jewish people. Gioris is Shivcha Meshuchreres, meaning how do you know if she's a Gioris, meaning she was non-Jewish, she was Misgayer. Or Shivcha Meshuchreres, or she was a slave, Meshuchreres Minayin, how do you know it refers to them also? Talmud Omer, Isha, says the word Isha. It's inclusive. Truma, if it's talking about Truma, Gioris Shivcha Benos Mechal Trumanino, Gioris and a Shivcha, these people are forbidden. We know we learned earlier in the Masechta, Gioris can never marry a Kohen. Meshuchreres, she can never marry a Kohen because she's a Zona. While she was non-Jewish, she was nevelas to a goy, and she becomes a zona. She's usher to a kohen. So it can't be referring to the parsha. Can't be talking about truma. It can only talking about kodshim. Amarova below. Is this not possible? V'achsiv top of ayin ham and aleph. Chol kodesh lo siga. The rabos hatruma. Part of this parsha it says chol kodesh lo siga. And the Gemara Darshans that includes Truma. Alakra mili kachashiv. Really, the Torah is talking about different things. Meaning, for for regular Bnei Yisrael, Jewish woman, it's talking about Truma. And for people that Truma is not applicable by, then it's talking about only Kodshim. But it's all about for different things for different people. V'tlasa cry b'Truma lamali. Why do you need 3 psukim by Truma? Srichi, you need them all. The Adashagitar, right? 3 psukim that tell you once you have Seizik Chavim, you can eat Truma. One pasuk it says when you Adashagitar and come Tahor Lohavi Adana Bama, I wouldn't know with what. Kasar Rahman Ba Shemesh V'tir. That's why it says Ba Shemesh V'tir to tell you that it's not what is it that's significant in Seizik Chavim that allows you to become fully Torah? Because of Rahman Ba Shemesh, we just said Ba Shemesh, Hanimili La Bar Kapara. I would have said only Seizik Chavim when there's no need to bring a korban the next day. All the Bar Kapara, when you have to bring a korban the next day, you might think you can't eat Truma until you actually bring the korban. Because Rahman Ad Malos, therefore it's by Yoledes, Ad Malos, once she finishes the days, even though she didn't bring the korban, she could eat Truma. Because Rahman Ad Malos, if it would have said Amalos have Amina filo below Tvila, I would think even without going to the mikvah. Because the Ramana Adashar Yitar, therefore, this is the first pasuk that we got going to the mikvah, and then the second pasuk of Ba Shemesh, and we know from those combination of all 3 psukim that once, no matter what, even if you have to bring a korban the next day, once you went to the mikvah and you have Herav Shemesh, then you could eat Truma. L'haftana the Poligale, the Tana de Beri Yishmael, the Amar B'zav Bal Gimel Rios and sort of Muchlar Akasim B'davar, the pasuk which talks about Asher Yitar, that you after Seizik Chav you can eat Truma. We learned it was talking about originally we learned that it was talking about a case where there's no korban, right? Where you're Zal Bal Shtei Rios, you don't bring a korban, or you're Masora Muskar, you're quarantined off, but you're not definitively put away, isolated. What if it's talking about those things? You have to bring a korban. Kasam Adaber, Hay Asher Yitar, the Ma'is Kapara. So we basically have 2 psukim telling me that even though you're a bar kapara, you can eat it once you need a korban. You can still once the Herav Shemesh comes, you went to the mikvah and says Chavim Kem, you can already eat truma. Why need the Torah to tell me that twice? Srichi, you need both psukim. Because Rahman Abi Yoledes, which just said Yoledes Mishum Dem Ruba Tumasa. Right? She has blood for a lot of days. She's seeing blood after Yoledes Dam Nida for a long time. With Zav, she only sees an emission, a man seeing an emission, a woman seeing blood. They can only see it 3 times. Aim low might say no. There would be no need to wait to Harav Shemesh because of Rahman Bezav, the Lahutra Miklolo. It would say by Zav, even Shalosh Rios. There's no exceptions over there. Well, Yoledes Aim low. Yoledes technically Midoraisa. She's allowed, if she has a boy, she's allowed to eat, even though she sees blood, vaginal blood for 33 days. She could technically eat Midoraisa. The Rahman she can't. Midoraisa she could. Zav never has that heter. So therefore, there's a kula by Yoledes. Emalo, I would think by Yoledes, you wouldn't have to wait Harav Shemesh. Sricha, I need both of them. The Mayim Yuva v'tamei ad Erev lamol. Why the Torah says go in water and tamei ad Erev. Amar v'zero l'negia. So this is an extra pasuk. Why this one? Tell you even for negia that in terms of touching, not only are you not allowed to eat truma until zez k'chavim, you're also not allowed to touch truma until zez k'chavim. The Sanya v'tamei. It says v'tamei yachal l'kol. You might think for everything. Tamalomar v'tir. Ivatir yachal l'kol. Tamalomar v'tamei. Your tummy, or your toe, or your tummy. Hakis like kan l'maiser, kan l'truma. So the pasuk that says v'tir, when you go to the mikveh, your tir, that's maiser. And when it says your tummy, you're still tummy when you went to the mikveh until for truma until seis k'chav. Ev b'chana. Maybe say the opposite. Mistaber gehechi de chamir achila de truma mechila de maiser. So it be proved on Daf Ayin Dalet because of right misa b'dei shamayim is chamura. Ravus is a different reason. So therefore, by achilas truma, we're more machmir than achilas meiser. Achilas the meiser. Achanam echamir negia the truma negia the meiser. So when it comes to touching truma and meiser, right after the mikvah, you can touch meiser, but you can't touch truma. If by saying negia the truma mahacha nafka. Alternatively, another source that it's also to touch truma until Harav Shemesh. Mikol kodesh v'chol kodesh lo siga. Pasuk says you can't touch any kodesh. Azhara. So the Gemara learned azhara la ochel. Oh, you know, in Negeya, Bryces teaches what does it mean chodesh lo siga. Literally, the word lo siga means to touch. The Gemara derives from this. You can't eat it. Maybe it actually. The Gemara says maybe it's actually talking about touching it. Tamalom b'chol kodesh lo siga el mikdash lo savur. Makish kodesh la mikdash. It's makish kodesh. You know, the produce, the food to the base of mikdash. Ma mikdash davar yishbo and dilas neshama. Right. When it comes to the mikdash, it has to be something. Right. Yesh Bonatilas Neshama. When you go into the base of Mikdash, when you're tummy, right, you're Chayav Misa. Af Kodesh Davar Yesh Bonatilas Neshama. It has to be Kodesh. Has to be something that can possibly make you liable to lose your life. And again, Natilas Neshama Leika, by touching something, the most you can get is a lav. If you go and eat something, eat truma when you're tummy, you Chayav Misa B'dei Shamayim. So therefore the pasuk's talking about, even though it says stiga, it's talking about achila, eating it. But still, the fact that the Torah went out its way to call achila negia, well, siga, therefore it teaches me that the same halacha of shalai achila applied to negia, and just like by truma and meiser, when it comes to the eating of truma and meiser you get to eat after the mikvah. So you get to touch meiser sheni after the mikvah, and truma, just like you can't eat truma until Harav Shemesh, so that you can't touch truma on Seis HaKochavim. Okay, we have wrapped up and concluded our discussion about truma and meiser, all these fun things. Let's get into psuadaka, krishafcha, people with these wounded testicles or maimed penises. I don't know, there's problems. All right. Psuadaka, Montana Mishtameres the be a psula doraisa. The Mishnah says that technically the man who's a psuadaka, he's a Kohen, has crushed testicles, he's allowed to eat truma, but he's married to a woman, Israelis, right? So if he had bia with her after he became a krishafka or a psuadaka, he ruins it for her. We'll discuss in Valencia why he ruins it for her. He ruins it for her. But if he didn't, she's waiting for bia. They didn't have bia yet, so the Mishnah says it's okay for her to eat. Who is the Tana of our Mishnah? It must be a machlokas. We had a machlokas by an arusa, right? An arusa, someone's nisarsa. She's a woman. Let's say an almana is nisarsa to Kohen Gadol, or a grusha is nisarsa to a Kohen Hedyo, right? Where the marriage would be aser, the eris is not necessarily aser. Right? She's waiting for a Bia Asura. Does she get to eat or not? Because technically, Arusa Bas Israel Felis, but Truma, she could eat from Ariston. So it's Machlokas. So it must be that Lezer and Shimon allow her to eat, even though the Bia would be Psula. But she didn't do the B yet, so it'd be okay. So it must be the same thing over here. But Rameir, who says over there she couldn't eat, she wouldn't even able to eat. Since Rav Yochanan Amar Afilu Teir Rameir, Yochanan says our Mishnah would be according to even Rav Meir, according to everybody. Shani Hachla Shekvar Achal. Here it's different because she already ate. She was married to the guy. She was in Kadesh Beheter, and now she already ate, so she continue eating. Lezer Shekvar Achal Lezer, who said it only applies. Our Mishnah is based on that machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and Rav Meir. We don't say Shekvar Achal. The Elo Tema Haki, right? Because if you do say Shekvar Achal, Abbas Yisrael Shenis LaKohen Umeis, a Jewish woman who marries a Kohen and the Kohen dies, Bala, her husband dies, Tochal, she could still keep on eating Shekvar Achla. We know that that's not true. Once her husband dies, if she has no children with him, she can't eat anymore. Rabbi Yochanan Hassan Paka Kinyane, there, the reason that she can't eat anymore is because the Kenyan is dead, right? He died. She was only able to eat a Kenyan Kaspa, we explained, right? Not a family of Cohen. She's only Kenyan Kaspa. Akala Paka Kinyane. Here, he's still alive, so technically the Kenyan is still there. When they're Boa, when they have the Bia, then it sounds like the Kenyan is gone, and that's what I'm going to explain in Yom Pension. Ezu Psua. What's considered Psua Daka? I don't want Ezu Psua Daka. What's considered a Psua Daka? Anyone his testicles are even wounded. Even one of them. Even if they got a hole in them. Even if they became dissolved, they became smaller, completely dissolved in the liquid. Even if they're not completely dissolved, they just become kasher, they become lessened, become smaller. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, all of these cases he had din of Psuadaka, which means his wife can't eat truma if they're a bowl eater, if he's bowl her after that. Or it also means he can't marry, he's psuadaka, he can't marry a regular Israeli. It's an Israel in the Torah. Amar Rishon ben Osher Yochanan Broka Shemati Picham Bekerim B'Yavna Kol She'en Lo Ela Beitza Achas Ein Lo Ela Tzreskam of a kosher. If he only has one testicle, let's say he's born with one testicle, not two. Most men have two testicles. He's Tzreskam. We're going to discuss more. A Tzreskam, there's talking about a Tzreskam and a Tzres Adam. A Tzres is an Enoch, someone who can't have children. Either it can be a natural thing, right? Or it can be done by people. It could be Tzrus Chama is either he's born, he has fever, natural causes, cause him to become incapable of reproducing, or he was born like that. It was a natural thing. He was born like that. He was Tzrus Chama. He came out to the sun, to the world. He was born like that. As opposed to Tzrus Adam is not considered a psuadaka. Tzrus Adam is considered a psuadaka. Tzrus Chama is not. So Tzrus Chama is the kosher. So he's like a Tzrus Chama, the kosher. So the rest of Tzrus Chama Salgadet is exactly like a Tzrus Chama. Tzrus Chama is someone who can't have children because of natural causes. Here, he was born without a testicle. It's just a physical blemish. It's something different. It's like Tzrus Chama. The Gemara is saying it's not like he is exactly like a Tzrus Chama. It's just Tzrus Chama of a kosher. Meaning he's a kosher levo bakal. He could marry into a Jewish woman. He could marry a regular woman. But he's not exactly like a Tzrus Chama. We'll discuss more what a Tzrus Chama is in the coming daf. And Menikev lo moli. One of the things mentioned in the Bryce is someone who has a hole running through a testicle can't have children. That's the svara over here. He can't have children, therefore he's a psuadak or a shaf. All these people can't have children, they can't reproduce. So it's a blemish in them. So the Gemara says, "Vaha hu gaver the salakludik." There was a certain man. He climbed up a tree. I guess the tree had thorns in it. Ein hamad beis v'charze silu v'beitzim v'nafik minik chud the mugla v'olid. A thorn pierced his testicles, and semen in the form of pus came out when it was punctured, but yet he was still able to have children. So you see, you could have children even if it's punctured. Shmuel, when he heard about this, said to Rav, he says we can't rely that the children he had were actually his. We assume it was his wife cohabited with somebody else and they had children. If he became, his testicles are wounded with Shemaim, natural causes, tornado, lightning, I don't know. It's kosher. Amarava, Hainu the Karina, he can marry a regular Israel, and it wouldn't passel his wife for being Truma. Rava, Hainu the Karina, Psua, Velo Karin Hapatsua. We learn it out from the Torah says Psua, it doesn't say the inclusive Hapatsua. So therefore, not all cases are included, only if it happens through uh, through natural causes, through a normal someone caused it to happen, as opposed to just things which are onus, things which are out of your control. The rights that we learn, it says two psukim next to each other. Just like a mamzer also was created by people, right? People that were usher to each other had relations. Afkan b'dei adam. Here, so psuadaka only when someone caused it, meaning he climbed a tree and something happened, or someone threw something at happened. It has to be caused, as opposed to b'dei shamayim, but just onus, natural causes. That is not included. Amarava psua bekulan, dach bekulan, krus bekulan. Psua. There's three things mentioned in the Torah: psua, daka, psua, and it says daka and krus shafka. So three words in the. So psua applies to all parts of the reproductive organs. You have basically three reproductive organs. You have the testicles, the beitzim, and you have the veins deferens, I think it's called, which is the tubes which carry the semen to the penis, and then you have the penis itself, which is the limb which helps get rid of this, not get rid of it, ejaculate the semen out of the man. So all of these psulim apply to all three of these reproductive organs. Part of psua bakula mentioned nifsa hagid, whether it is wounded actual penis. Mentioned nifsu beitzim, when the testicles are wounded. Mentioned nifsu chute beitzim, when the vas deferens are wounded. Dach bakula, dach, right, when it's crushed, bakula. Mentioned nidach hagid, when the penis is crushed. Mentioned nidchu beitzim, when the testicles are crushed. Mentioned nidchu chute beitzim, when the vas deferens were crushed. Krus, if it's cut, bakula. Mentioned nichras hagid, when the penis, the top of the penis, we'll see, is cut off. Mentioned nifsu beitzim, when the testicles were slashed. When the man's deferens were slashed. How do you know what psuadaka is referring? A wound is talking about in the reproductive organs. When it's talking about the person's actual head. It doesn't say, right, this generation and not the next generation. It's talking about a place. Obviously, it's not a place where you can't have future generations. It's included in psukim that talk about a mitzri and a domi, right? A mitzri, a dor shlishi could. So, that doesn't mention anything about future generations. Why not? Obviously, because it rendered him incapable of having future generations. It must be it's talking about in the area where it inhibits your ability to have future generations. So, where it says. Maybe it's just the reason it doesn't mention generations because it's talking about your head, but by mitzri only a dor shlishi, by psuadaka, you're wounded in your head, someone boxed you, so the next generation, the Torah doesn't answer, right? Your children doesn't answer for some other reason. So the Gemara says. Dumiya the krus shafcha. No, because it's written in Psuadaka, right next to krus shafcha. Ma krus shafcha was a makom. Krus shafcha, where it cuts and it affects something spilling, is also makom. Hayanam is also makom. Krus shafcha, when it's cut, when the part of the reproductive organs are cut in some way, so the semen doesn't shoot out, it spills out. So that it's talking about from the reproductive organs. How do you know that part of Krus shafcha? When it's cut, it pours out. It's talking about reproductive organs. Maybe it's talking about his head and it's talking about his lip, where saliva pours out of your lip. Shafcha, it says shafcha, that it falls out, it flows out, it pours out passively, right? Your saliva spits out through your lips because you force it out. When you talk, it comes out through your emotions, not that it spills out. So where it says shuta, not spit out. So where it says Maybe it's talking about your nose, where it just people have liquids that come out of their nose. Miksiv bishvuch krus shafcha ksiv. It doesn't say bishvuch. If it said bishvuch, it always just flows out. It could be your nose. Krus shafcha ksiv mishalide krisa. Right, through cutting it, through shofech. Shalide krisa eno shofech. If you wouldn't have cut over there, then it wouldn't have poured out. El mikaleach. It would have squirted out. Lafuke hai di idi ve'idi shofechu. To exclude both the cases where the nose and the lips, right? The nose, it always just flows out, and the lips, it always shoots out. Masisa Tana Nemar lo yavo psuadaka. In a different price, it says Nemar lo yavo psuadaka. Nemar lo yavo mamzer. It says next to each other psuadaka and mamzer. Mala halan boso makom. Like mamzer is a problem that is caused by sex, which is reproductive organ. Akam also makom. Nigiv lamata me'atora shagnegdel lamala me'atora. Let's say you have a hole. Lamata me'atora, right? There's two main parts of the actual penis: the lower part and the top part, which is the corona, which is the head of the penis. We're going to see that all these things only apply to the penis is the head of the penis. So let's say you had a hole in the penis, the diagonal hole that it starts from the lower half of the penis, and the top of the hole, the puncture of the hole goes through the corona, the head of the penis, the glands, it's actually called. What would be the halacha in that case? So Rabbi Chiya bar Abba Lachshur, he thought it's okay. Amalei Rabbi Asi Achi Amar Rishon Levi Atara Koshi Makeves. Any problem, if any part of the hole is in the atara, the top part of the penis, it's a problem. In Ishtayar Ma'atara, right, the Mishnah says if part of the atara is left over, it's okay. So they said it has to be a hair's breadth. Shamru alpnei kula, it has to be remaining alpnei kula alpnei ruba. It has to be left surrounding the entire atara or most of it. Amar lei Rava Tosfel Ravina Malachut alpnei ruba v'klape reisha. There are people that change the gears over here. The Rosh gear says kula, the Geras says. But our gear says ruba. As long as right, even if let's say it's cut off. Most of the glands is cut off, but the top of it, but a majority in one place is okay. It's okay. We copy a ratio. It has to be on the top. The hair's breadth has to be on the top of the glands, not the bottom part. These are talking about interesting cases. I don't know how these things happen, but kakulmus would be a case where basically someone carved the out part of the penis, and at the tip it would be very narrow. It cut off most of the glands, the corona. It's narrow, and towards the bottom they pretty much left it intact, like a quill. The quill, the tip of the quill is very small, but the feather on the back is very big. Kemarze psula is like a gutter, meaning basically think of it like you cut it off widthwise, so it's like a gutter. It's like exposed now. The top of it is cut in half, basically. That's puzzle. That's considered up to a daka. High shalid ba'avira, high shalid ba'avira. The difference is that the kulmus is still completely circular. The top is completely circular, even though it's definitely lessened. When it's like a gutter, half of it, the air is exposed. The middle of the penis is exposed to the air. It ruins it. But high shalid ba'avira. Rav Chisda Amar Kamarze V'Sher. He says the opposite. It's like a mars, like a gutter. It's kasher. Kulmus psula. Like a quill, it's puzzle. High guard, but high low guarded. Basically, when it's like a kulmus, it doesn't flow out normally because the tip is very small. It's marziv, even though it's exposed to the air, but there's no limitations in how it's constant throughout. Amar Rava Kavasi de Rafuna Mistabra. Rafuna seems to make more sense. Hai lo shal ba'avira, hai lo shal ba'avira. That would be something more negative if it's exposed to the air. Imishum greidusa, immediately have a barz de chavisa. It'll tell me that what doesn't flow out normally. It goes from a wide area to a small area. It's like when you put a spigot in a barrel to take something out. So even though the tip of the spigot is very narrow, the part is wide inside the barrel. I mean, it's basically saying the article explains that even though when when this person puts his penis in the vagina, even though maybe it's not it's small at the tip, so it's not going to get heated up, but the rest of the penis on the bottom is bigger, and that will also go in the vagina, so therefore that will get heated up, and therefore will lead to the sperm coming out in a normal way. Only Ravina Lamarim or Hakam Mazush Mishpeder of Papa Hilkas Abema Kolmos Kolmos Bank and Marziv Shera. Either it's like a Kolmos or a Marziv, they're both kosher. Miu Mibayale Lamata Matara Lamala. I do have a question. One question. Lamata Matara Lamala. Pshita Lamala Matara. Is this talking about Kolmos and Marziv? Are these psulim when they're below the corona, below the glands, or only lamala? So when I said pshita lamala matar, it's only talking about these things where these conditions happen into the corona itself. These are like lamata matar. Afilu nikras agid nami. Even the case of nikras agid, let's say you get a cut in the penis, so that is not a problem in the lower part. It's only a problem in the upper part. Ravina the Shabushe Maremar with the boy. The reason he asked this question, he really just wanted to confuse him. I guess he was angry at him. People get angry at each other, start asking other questions. But he knew the answer to the question. With a certain incident with a man's penis, I don't know, something happened. Shafi Rashi examined it. He found it to be like kumos v'achshar. He said the person is not a psuadaka. Who uvda dahav mudisa istatim gufs the shikla zera v'apig makom katanim. This is an interesting case. The Van deferens was closed off, and the semen, instead of coming out of the hole through the pipe, the tube, the Van deferens, which brings the sperm, it came through the urinary where it brings the urine. Savar Rabbi Rabbi Lachshri thought it's okay. Amar Rapapi Mishum Da'asim Ulai, if you come from a place in Ulai, strange people, top of Ayin Vov and Aleph, Amrisum Milam Ulaisi, you say strange things. It can't reproduce if it comes out of the urinary tract. If it comes out of the urinary tract, it doesn't have the ability to heat up. Only when it comes out of the Van deferens, it has the ability to heat up, so therefore you'll be considered psuadaka. Because again, the end point of all these things, psuadaka kurushafa, is it can't reproduce. That creates a psul in the person. Lo yavo psudaka b'kal Hashem. He's not a regular person. He can't marry the Kal Hashem. He has a mum. He has a blemish that he can't reproduce. That's the end of today's daf. I hope you enjoyed today's daf. Stay tuned for Ian and Stia, and we'll discuss psuadaka's relevance to paka kinyone, why a kohen who's boel, who becomes a psuadaka, and once he's boel his wife, then she loses the ability to truma. What exactly is going on? Why is that? We'll explain that coming up right now.